Well, hey, welcome back. It's nice to see you again. You're just in time because I'm just getting started. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. I hope we get to see you again and again. Well, today I wanted to show you this jewelry cabinet that I found. Now, I see these all the time, and to me, a lot of them aren't very attractive. But once I saw this, for some reason, I was attracted to it. I like the lines, I like the curves, I like the color, and there's some little carvings here and there, and it's got some Bombay drawer faces. It looks really cool. I'm sure you guys, like me, have a few personal items that you like to store away. Well, I have a few. Some watches, some sunglasses, some gloves. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm always throwing stuff on a tray that I have on top of my dresser, where everything winds up on my top drawer. Anyway, I think I'm going to keep this cabinet to keep all my personal items in. These are the videos of what it looks like after I fixed it. And this is what it looks like before I fixed it. As you can see, there's a lot of nicks, chips, some corners knocked off. This should be a simple fix. So let me show you what I did. As you can see, we're just going to start right in. Looks like we have a corner broken off here, so what we're going to do is we're going to fill it. Again, using my water-based putty, I'm going to fill in this corner. This is kind of fun. All I'm doing is just filling in and replacing what's missing. If you ever played with clay when you were a little kid and made a little square box out of clay, I know we've all done that. It's the same thing. All we're doing though is the corner. If you go to my first video, you'll see the kind of putty we're using here right now. Just imagine what this corner looked like before it was damaged. Just fill in the putty as close as you can. Make it slightly larger so when you sand it, you can get the detail more exact. Now we've got some small chips that we're going to fill. This is pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. Okay, this one's going to be a little tricky, but not a problem. We can tackle this. First, let's get a little putty on there and let it dry a little. We'll come back to this in a minute or two. Looks like we have another chipped corner here. Not as bad as the other one, but let's fill it the same way. Okay, it's been a couple of minutes, so let's get back to this one. Let's remove as much of the putty as we can without touching the hole that we filled. Now you can take a business card and wet it on the edge. If not, you can use a credit card or debit card, whatever, and just squeegee off the putty and it becomes perfectly flat. You want to do it this way because there's no way you could sand it without damaging the surrounding areas. Okay, let's apply the same method to this corner here. Let's see how close we can get it. Filling in some more chips here. Okay, let's apply the same method to this corner. Larger putty fills like this. You want to move the card slower. Just keep playing with it. Keep working with it. Sooner or later, it starts to look like the way you want it. Again, don't be afraid to use your fingers to form it. Your fingers could be the best tool sometimes. This is looking really good right about now. Yeah, this will work. Okay, now that we got all our corners and nicks and chips filled with our putty, we can start sanding now. You want to start with some 220. All I have here is some 150, but 220 would be a lot better. Now let's just sand all the areas that need to be sanded lightly. Whatever you do, do not touch the finish. Again, when sanding, do not touch the finish. Again, just lightly sand. Now that we've got everything lightly sanded, we can now prepare to brush our stain on. Here we got some lacquer thinner and some mahogany stain. And what I do is I put a few drops of lacquer thinner to thin out the stain so the stain becomes a little lighter. And then what I do is I put coats of light stain. You can see how the stain is lighter than the actual piece of furniture itself. So what we're doing is we're going light to dark, and then we stop at the correct color that we want. If we just throw on stain right out of the can, it could be too dark, and now we've got to strip everything all over again and start from the beginning. So it's better to go lighter to darker. Depending on the stain you're using, I usually put 2 to 3 coats, giving about 5 or 10 minutes to dry in between coats, and then I'll let it dry for about a couple hours and repeat the process until I get my color. You know, I just wanted to say that when you're doing a project like this, you're going to be here for a while. So besides getting your project together and the area you're going to work in, you get all your materials that you're going to need to do the project. One of the things that I do to make it more fun and interesting is that I'll put on my favorite music, making me a nice hot cup of coffee or a mocha, yes, with the whipped cream. You know, if you ladies got one of those scented candles, go ahead and turn one on. Get yourself really comfortable, so that way your creative juices can start flowing. These are the times sometimes when I get my best ideas. I think you know what I'm talking about. All I'm saying is just have some fun with it. I firmly believe you have all your tools and materials together and you get really comfortable, you start to do some really good quality work, and you only get better and better in practice. So go ahead and create that creative environment for yourself. It's really important when you're doing stuff like this to put yourself in a creative state. Okay, this one chip that's off on the face is going to be a little more challenging, but don't worry, just do it the same way like you were doing the other repairs. The tip here is only putting stain on the area that's puttied. If you put stain over the areas that's puttied, it's going to look dark. So if your eyesight's not the greatest, this is the time you get a magnifying glass. Remember to let the stain dry in between coats. If you don't, what happens is that when you put the second coat on and it's not dry, all you're doing is just moving stain around. You're not actually putting a layer on. So start out with a good foundation, let it dry, build up another foundation, let it dry, and all you're doing is putting layers of color on. The more layers, the darker it gets. I know, it's genius. It's a little more detailed work, but you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Just put a little bit of stain, let it dry, and put a little more on until you get the bright color that you want. Step back and take a look at it. If it needs a little more, just put a little more on there until you achieve the color you want. It's that simple. If you have any stain that goes over the putty line, make sure you wipe it off. It's going to make a dark line, so what we don't want to do is draw attention to the repair that we did. One of the things that I've learned over the years is that when you're looking at a piece of furniture that you're thinking about buying, and it has some damage, you don't want to get a piece of furniture that you're going to have equipment to, let's say, like replace a door or do veneering, unless you intend to buy all the tools and machinery to do that. Instead, try and find something that's really simple to repair, something that you know you can do. One of the rules that I apply to myself is that when I'm buying a piece of furniture that's damaged, I want to make sure that the damage is no bigger than a dime. You'll see that there's a lot of furniture out there that nobody wants because it has nicks and dings and cracks. But once you get a hold of them and repair them, they almost look brand new. The other thing is that this color that I'm using and the lacquer system that I'm using seems like it's working really well for me. I can dial in the colors really good. The thing of it is though, I look for this color of furniture. That's the key. For instance, if I bought a piece of furniture that was light stained, I would have to figure out all the colors all again. I try to stick with the same color when I'm looking at a piece of furniture, knowing that I've got the color already dialed in. Alright, I think I got the color just where I want it. I'm going to give it a day to dry. Okay, it's been a day and ready to mask this thing up with some masking tape. Of course I use blue masking tape. Let's get it prepped so we can shoot some satin or semi-gloss lacquer on it. I'm choosing this type of lacquer because the finish is semi-gloss. Once we got it masked off, let's take off the hardware. Okay, we're ready to shoot some lacquer. I'm going to shoot one coat on, let it dry for about a couple hours, and shoot another coat on. Wow, look at this. You can't even notice the repairs. I'm really liking this cabinet even more. You see? That wasn't hard after all. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and of course hit the bell. Until then, we'll see you at my next video. Bye!